Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of All Knicked Up. It is Wednesday, August 16th, 2023. Can't believe it's August. Summer's almost over. This is crazy. I'm not a huge fan of summer, so it doesn't make me that sad, but I know there are people who love it, and so they'll probably be a little upset that summer's ending. But when summer ends, that means basketball season's not too far away. So, and that's what we're here to discuss. So I feel like, there's always a silver lining, and that's one of them. For me, it's also football season. As you guys know, I'm a huge football fan, so I'm looking forward to that as well. But of course, we have a nice action-packed show again for you guys this week. We have some topics we're going to talk about. Obviously, Knicks related. One of them is not Knicks related, but we're kind of slanted towards the Knicks anyway. So we'll get to that in a minute. But let me bring in my esteemed colleagues first. Let's bring in Ty. And then let's bring in Joe.
Yo.
Hello, gentlemen. How you all doing?
Hello. Good. How about yourself?
I'm all right. A little sweaty in this room, but I'm okay. I'm going to tough it out. I want to make it through this one. We'll get this one done. Now, I know I keep seeing my face. It looks pretty orange. And normally I have red anyway because just my skin I have whatever. But the screen I'm looking.
You're not in Georgia, are you?
No, I'm not in Georgia. I'm not in.
Alabama?
Huh?
Was it Alabama? Where did it catch it?
No. Got jokes over here.
No. From the direction. I didn't know. I'm just the southerly glow.
No. The background that I have on this one computer is this orange, like wavy looking thing, so it reflects off that screen and that's on my face, and that's why normally I have a little bit of red, but that's why I look orange. So I'm okay, guys. I'm not going full Nick either. I'm not gonna have blue on the other side.
As long as you're not trying to stop no votes, that's all I'm just saying. Don't on that yet. Pun on the Don. Don't on that yet.
Oh man,
that friggin' guy.
So Joe,
Yo.
Joe, you were not here with us last week. So how was your concert?
It was good. I'm a fan of Ryan Adams, and he was playing with his side group, the Cardinals. They played for 3 solid hours. I also saw him on Long Island, another 3 solid hours show. This is the first time he's toured in a while, so we usually don't get that many good bands that come to Rochester that often. So it's nice when one does.
Well, that's good, man. I can't tell you the last time I was at a concert. I don't even remember. It's been a long time.
That's the thing I miss about living in New York City, man. All the good stuff comes there.
Yep. So I might be headed to one with my niece. She wanted me to take her to one, so I might be headed to one. It's a country act, which for me, I'm not a country music fan, but she asked me if I would take her, so I might just be doing the uncle thing and taking her to the concert.
The big uncle, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, I told her, I said, if a couple of her friends go, I'm like, you guys could go. I'll stay in the back and just kind of chaperone from a distance, but we'll see how that goes. So, so I was just saying that the summer's we're almost done with the summer, guys. Fall's here.
Yeah.
Pumpkin spice. If you like pumpkin spice, today was the official day that I got my email from Dunkin' Donuts saying,
"Oh wow, they really have
an
official announcement of this?"
Yes.
What?
It's a huge deal. I swear, I'm not kidding. Pumpkin spice is back.
Wow.
So, I like it, but
that's like the McRib at McDonald's, They
I like the McRib more than pumpkin spice.
No. That you're on your own. I can't stand that sandwich. I know how it's made too. I can explain. I worked for McDonald's, so I can explain how the McRib is actually made. If you want me to ruin it for you, I can do that at any moment.
Dude, I used to smoke cigarettes, so the occasional McRib, I still think I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's true, man. That is true. All right, so we have a little bit of an interesting twist to this show because we kind of voted on this. I was okay with doing it. You guys seem to really, really want to do it. So we're gonna start this week talking about the process. All right. So the big deal was made about the process, right? For years going back, the Philly process, keeping in their draft picks, drafting them high, developing the players. And it hasn't totally worked out that way. I'm going to bring up the graphic real quick. So as you can see here, guys, here's kind of a quick rundown of what happened. Let me take off the banner real quick so you can see it a little better. There we go. All right. So yeah, so you see the rundown really quickly. They had Drew Holiday, who we know has gone on to become this very, very good all-star caliber guard, two-way player, one of the better ones in the NBA. They traded that pick in 2013 for Nerlens Noel, who is no longer with them. Then you see in 2014, they drafted Joel Embiid and Dario Saric. Joel Embiid famously had the injured foot. He not only missed that season, I believe he missed the next season too, if I'm not mistaken. And Dario Saric is no longer on the team anymore either, so he doesn't count. Then to compound it, instead of taking KP, which they probably should have taken, who would have been a nice fit alongside Embiid eventually, they took Jahlil Okafor, who once again, another guy's also out of the league. So that was an interesting little pick as well. So then they're like, let's bring in Brian Colangelo. He'll run the team, smart manager, had success. Let's bring him in, and let's get this thing going. So then 2017, again, miraculously, they didn't have the first round pick. They traded up for it and drafted Markelle Fultz. Now this one, I can't really blame them for. Go ahead.
There's something else to this. They originally they traded for the number one pick with this. They originally were in the slot, I believe, to get Jason Tatum. They gave Jason Tatum the number one for Fultz, which is the worst sin out of all of this mess.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is true. That's a good call. Good call. But I can't really fault them so much. He looked like he was on his way, and then that weird thing happened with his shoulder and
thoracic outlet syndrome.
Yeah, like that was bad. And I mean, he's gone on to, he's a very good player now. He's a good player. Like he seems to be getting better and proving himself a little bit. Still not a great shooter, but the reason they drafted him are there. But again, he's not there, so it doesn't count anymore. Yeah. He's gone. Then in 2018, you see that little bit of drama that happened there with Embiid being on Twitter and burner accounts and Brian Colangelo. So that's where the drama really started. I completely forgot that Jimmy Butler was on the Sixers. Like when you sent me this, I was like, "Oh crap, that's true. Jimmy Butler was on the Sixers."
Yeah.
So there you go. They had Jimmy Butler. Again, not there anymore. So you can see there's a trend, guys. You can look down the list and you see there's a trend. But to get to now, it's just been a mess. The process has been, like I think Ty said before, processed meat.
The processed meat.
Right? Is that what you said? Right? So it's kind of turned into this, like processed meat is pressed in like cold cuts and stuff. That's kind of what it's become. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's all come to a head this year with James Harden, right? James Harden, who wanted to go with Daryl Morey because they had a relationship, and now he's calling him a liar and all this other stuff. You know, he got the fat suit on the hanger. I saw a picture of that too. Like he wants to put the fat suit on and stuff.
Gucci.
And say he's overweight again. So because they were doing a plan that I think is the right way to build a team. Like they were doing the plan that I would like to do: draft your guys, stick with them, develop them. You know, again, some of this was bad luck. I can't say it's all been their bad doing. Some of it was bad luck. Some of the guys didn't pan out. What happened with Simmons too, man, that was crazy as well. He just lost his confidence. But apparently he looks great. I read something today. He looks great. He's in shape. So we'll see. We'll see how he plays for Brooklyn. But I guess I want to ask first, and I'll start with you, Joe, because I've talked to Ty about this more. When they started talking about the process, what was your whole thought with it? Did you think it was just like lip service, or did you say, okay, you know, this is a good way to build a team?
So I used to, back in the Knicks fix days, Gustavo Castillo, I used to argue up and down, and up and down, and up and down with him over this. Like, if we were in the same room, I would have went to blows. And he's like, it worked. The process worked, and I'm like, they haven't won anything yet. They haven't won anything yet. They haven't won anything yet. So you can accumulate all of the lottery and high level picks that you want. If you can't evaluate character and talent adequately, it's not going to do you very good, and you're just going to crater out. And again, you could see it here, just bad decisions, bad decisions, bad decisions. The only one that has really panned out for them is Embiid. And there were a couple of years where Embiid, it wasn't looking like that was really going to happen. Injury stuff, you would hit on this stuff, Eric, before. I mean, so I have intermittently in my Knick fandom like advocated for tanking a season just to get a single high level draft pick to get some kind of a cornerstone player. Like advocate high level draft pick to get some kind of, but this kind of stuff, no, I can't get behind this. Just going through 4 or 5 seasons of 15 wins at a clip and hope that you got the right decision makers and the right talent evaluators. This ended up like I thought it was going to end up. I mean, there's more drama attached to it than I imagined, but I don't know. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said this is the way I think you should go when you're doing it. Obviously, you want better luck than they've had. I feel like the front office has failed the players as much as vice versa, in my opinion. I feel like you have to have a strong leader, and you have leaders taking things public. The whole thing with Colangelo and Embiid, especially with your star player, and then the whole fiasco with Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey and that whole thing. That was similar to what we did with Phil Jackson, right? Like, let him make the draft pick and then fire him 2 days later. Like, that's some kind of deal that we did, some kind of thing. So this whole thought, I always laughed that they would always call it the process, because I mean, everyone wants to do this process. Like, this is a version of a process. So I always thought it was a weird term to attach to it. But Ty, you've been, I have to say, for all of the, maybe Craig too, but you in the group that we have been the most vocal about this. So I'm going to give you the floor so you can speak about the process. So go ahead.
Well, it's true to the name that I put up there is Tyrone Kabibble. I like that's one of my favorite cities to visit. I've gone there a lot of times, enjoyed all the aspects of it. The Kabibble, there's a place called Ish Kabibble. It's a famous cheesesteak place. The reason I referenced that that name is because I've heard so much hype about it. Actually, I was on a cruise. I was in the Bahamas, and I met some people from Philly, and they were saying, "Oh, we're chirping it up or whatever," and it was like, "Oh, you got to try Ish Kabibbles," because we were talking about how we like going to Philly. So I heard all the hype. Chubb Rock mentions it in one of his rap songs that he's on a collabo with. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to definitely check out the spot. Much like Kabibble, it's all advertised and sound pretty until you eat it and it tastes like shit. So that's pretty much what we're going through when looking at the process. I view it the same way. It looks great. It's got all the great advertisements, but it became a whole shit show in the end. And that's the same thing what we're seeing here. Why I always call it I hated hearing that term, the process. The process. What the hell is the process? Trust the process. Well, it was a piece of crap for the longest time. When you watch who they were drafting and still not gaining any tread, let's remove Embiid. He was injured. That's a good gamble. I mean, he was, very talented. Still, obviously, he's MVP now, so we know that talent panned out. But there were so many hiccups. Like when they drafted Nerlens Noel, I was like, this is maybe one of the worst things you could absolutely do. Then they draft Jahlil Okafor after him. Another worst move you can do. So they were just kind of throwing the fecal matter at the wall and hoping something stick. And that's pretty much what the process had been, not drafting Tatum. Horrible move. Absolutely horrible move. We know KP didn't want to play for Philly. He didn't do his workouts in Philly. So I can understand maybe why they didn't necessarily go after him. But you draft him, he's got to come into camp. You can picture the five that, like, when you think about it now, that would have been Joel Embiid, KP, Drew Holiday if you kept him. You wouldn't want that squad? Then you could have drafted possibly Tatum. You're not winning a championship with that squad? Yes, you are. You're probably going to at least sniff the finals with that starting five or starting four, whatever you want to say. I just thought it was a bunch of crap, and it really hit the fan more so when Colangelo was hanging out with Kevin Durant's burner phone. That's when you have burner accounts and you're the GM. That was probably the worst thing, and this is just pretty much a pimple festering up and popping with James Harden right now. I mean, I always thought Morey was kind of an ass clown. I never thought that, we always hear, oh, Morey's great or whatever. Yeah, but, he seems like the kind of person that probably would lie to you, make promises and probably not give a damn if he didn't come through on it. It's no knock against him. It's a business at the end of the day, and he was big on trying to get Harden here, prior to Harden getting traded from Houston to Brooklyn. So he wanted him in Philadelphia. So that was written on the wall, but it's almost sort of like, these guys are just paying the piper right now for doing trash stuff, character stuff. James Harden's character, he's over in China talking about Morey. I mean, that's why they're best friends, probably, because Harden's character is a piece of trash too right now. So it's not like he has any credibility. Like, oh, I am so much better than like the moral compass. Come on, it's stuck somewhere in his beard because he doesn't have a moral compass whatsoever. You can't frisk him for a moral compass. He's done whatever he wants for the money. That's what it really comes down to. He wants to get paid. He wants to be in strip clubs. Let's just put it where it is. He's willing to wear a fat suit like he's one of the clumps. I mean, think about the character this guy has been over the last 4 or 5 seasons. You move to you get to Brooklyn. Not maybe that's not your first stop, but you're playing alongside KD and Kyrie. Probably more so KD than Kyrie. Obviously, we know he went off the reservation quite too often. You still couldn't do that, and then you axed out of there. Like, if there's anything, I'm going to KD and go, dude, the hell with Kyrie. If he doesn't want to be here, we could ball out. They play together in Oklahoma. Like, why would you not at least try to make something work and maybe convince the Brooklyn Nets? Because you got to think along this line, too. Kyrie was a free agent. He's coming in a free agency. Brooklyn could have just let him go. It's not like you had to keep him. Maybe you and KD could work that out and be a dynamic duo. You played together in OKC. I mean, you could have asked Russie to come back. They seem like everybody's okay with Russie now. You might could have had OKC Brooklyn. I don't know, but I'm just saying. This guy has just been a crap character guy to begin with. And it's just befitting of Philly that they are in the exact place where they should be, because they were tanking, which I don't have nothing totally against tanking. It's the fact that they kind of made a mockery out of the drafting process. You cheated your fan base. And not like I care about, well, I'm a consumer, so I do care about how people treat their consumers. And the Philadelphia fan base, whether we got to love them or like them, they're still consumers like we are of the Knicks. And I understand how that pain is felt when you just want to have a decent product and have a competitive team on the floor. And what you're getting is a bunch of antics and drama that you never asked for as a fan base. The only thing you want to do is be able to go and root for your team, know that they're giving out 100% effort, and win or lose, you can find some pride in wearing the merchandise and the hats, whatever. You feel great about your team or your team's effort. But right now, the fan base in Philly, they should be in an uproar, because more likelihood Harden holding them hostage is now going to be a fallout, because now Morey, whether it is true or not, his character is on the line right now. So the way these players, and someone already came, I forgot who it was, they came to defend him already. Harden's antics, they're going to defend. The players are always going to side with the players. You never see them go off the script of saying, hey, no, you're wrong. You do need to report. So whether they believe him or not, I'm more than sure the support's going to come from within the brotherhood of the NBA, and people are probably going to buy hard and saying that he's a slickster, and they're going to have a hard time attracting free agency. And they got the MVP sitting there with no help other than Tyrese, Michael Jordan, Maxey.
Yeah, I mean I feel when I look from a distance, I feel like they crafted good players for the most part.
They did.
It's just, and so it's really weird how it didn't pan out. Maybe obviously they replicated guys by taking Okafor and doing that. They should have gone in another direction, even if it wasn't Porzingis. They should have gone in another direction, and addressed a different need at that time. But
Booker,
I feel like they
am I right?
Yep.
Booker?
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, there were other guys to choose there, and so in that regard, I think that's kind of was maybe a screw up here and there. But that happens sometimes in the draft, as we know as Knicks fans. You don't always make the right pick. You pick guys you think might fit your system instead of taking the best player available, and you make errors that way as well. So I think in that regard, they were sloppy, but for the most part, I felt like they took good guys. Just what happened afterwards is just a failure of the leadership. That's how I look at it. The failure of the leadership. Whether it was Colangelo or now Morey, Elton Brand. Elton Brand had never had a job like that before, and they gave him the keys to the kingdom, right? Like he had never had.
Is he still working for them, Elton Brand, in any capacity?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
I mean, I know. Go ahead, Joe.
What about all the losing? I mean,
that's the key thing.
Seriously, I mean, you're drafting in young players and they're getting their heads handed to them on a regular basis, and just the losing and the losing and the losing. Like, I still don't understand. Again, having a bad season, coming back with a high draft pick and building and being serious about that, but like not being serious at all about winning for years at a time. What is that? How do you expect that to be fertile soil to build a championship team out of? These people have to experience that, and that's their formative years in the NBA. Just, yeah.
Well, I think there's definitely, I think there's definitely something to that. I'm not.
You got to look at Simmons, and he was brought up in that culture. When you think about it, he now is really an example, a culmination of what happened throughout the years. He got hit in the mouth of criticism, and he basically folded like a three-legged card table at a spades game. He just really never got his footing back, and they were taught that losing was okay for a long period of time with no sense of direction. So when you bring these guys under that umbrella of, because everyone knew what they were doing, that's the whole thing. The fan base was chanting, trust the process. They knew they were all in on tanking and losing and not trying to win a bunch of games to get high draft picks. But when you start accepting that losing atmosphere, who is going to lead them out? Like they've really had, I think outside of maybe when Jimmy Butler came there, was the first time they had a character guy who was about leadership.
Jimmy's not about losing.
Yeah, he's not going to lose. Who? But before him, I mean, Joel Embiid is called the process. They call him the process because he too was like, oh, trusted. Doing all the waving.
He was.
And he's another guy when we talk as Knicks fans about getting a superstar in this market, and his name has been brought up several hundred times now. But we've seen the shrink wrap that has happened to him in the playoffs. Just recently, as much as we, malign Harden with his lack of play, Embiid was right next to him. We're buddies. They were like friends losing together against Boston in the Game 7 where they just didn't show up. So it's embedded in the Philadelphia culture. Has just been great cosmetics, but it is just a terrible field of leadership that is, which a guy like Drew Holiday would have helped. Character guy, another strong character guy, who's hellified professional, plays defense, It's not going to take a back
everything they need. Yeah.
everything that they need, everything they need. And no offense to Toby, but come on, you chose him over Jimmy Butler. What are we doing here?
You're right, though. Ben Simmons is probably the best example. That's probably perfect.
Well,
perfect example.
Well, the crazy thing is, and I think I told you, I think I said this to you, Ty. I don't know if I said this to you, Joe, but Jay Williams said that they used to let Embiid, like, I forget what it was, but some kind of fast food on the sideline.
You told me that.
That's the kind of culture that they instilled, and you can see it now, because I don't think his problem is a lack of fire or desire, and he's just tired and beat up by the end of the season, and he doesn't. Yeah, and that's an organizational problem. That is an organizational problem. If you're players, it's the same thing with Zion in New Orleans. Yes, he might not want to be there too. That could be a part. That's definitely, I think, part of the problem. But they have done nothing but kowtow to whatever he wants. So he doesn't need to listen to them now. He's gonna be like, I don't need to listen to you. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And that's what happens with Embiid.
He doesn't know how to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think Embiid, honestly, and Ty, you said this before, we've had this discussion. Talent-wise, he's fantastic. Like he could be the best. Like he won MVP, but he could be one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
If he just took care of himself better.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Like I don't look at him as an all-time great now. He's a great player, but you think about that, and he doesn't really take care of his body. Imagine what he could do if he took care of his body, right? Like the sky's the limit. So. But it's the culture that it built. You're right, Joe, the losing. I mean, I thought it was hysterical when they got rid of Brett Brown. They blamed him for all the crap that was going on. And I thought he was a good coach.
He is.
And then Doc Rivers, right? And then Doc Rivers comes in and nothing gets better. So guess what? It wasn't Brett Brown, right?
Yeah, he's not getting another shot because of that record either.
Yeah, like this whole thing is crazy. Yeah. It's a crazy situation, and again, it doesn't bode well for how I like to build basketball teams. I'm not going to be able to defend this and use this as an example. I'll be like, turn away from this one. Let's not pay attention to that because it is just a little nuts how this whole thing panned out when they had so many good high picks and had so many positions to draft players. Now you're looking back, excellent players and form a team, fill in all your spots. And I mean, yes, I would say they definitely hit on Embiid. I think they definitely hit on Ben Simmons when he's not crazy. So those two, I would say, but like we brought up Fultz, yeah, probably would have worked out too.
They mismanaged Fultz too with his injury. Yeah. That was one of the more bizarre things, knowing he had this injury and how they handled that, even with the media, and then knowing he probably had some psychological issues, obviously dealing with what they call the yips or whatever they wanted to call it, from his injury. It was just bad. It's just been that's the whole thing. And I think that's the key to what we were discussing as relating to the Knicks. I mean, I know those who are listening wondering what this has to do with the Knicks. We're just talking more or less about the idea of many Knicks fans did want to tank, and not grow it organically. They just said, oh, let's just keep losing and keep losing and keep losing. And this adds a little bit of credence to that. You can't just keep losing and getting high picks without having some sort of direction or some sort of core belief in winning. Because that's what we're seeing now from Philly. They had no direction. They were just thinking that they were going to outsmart the league by, circumventing the real process of drafting and developing a team the right way. They just said, we'll just keep losing. We'll abuse the system. And in the end, we're just going to walk out with all these great players, and it's going to make it all worth it in the end. So trust the losing because we're going to win later. And they've done none of that. They've gotten to the second round, which is great. I mean, I guess if you want to say, because us as Knicks fans, we just finally got back to the second round. But, I'd rather be in our position than theirs with regards to having some stability, or a lot more stability, I should say. I mean, the Knicks are not unstable right now. It's just we wish that we had gotten one of those other stars that Philadelphia had an opportunity to not only just draft, but they wasted away the talent. The Knicks have never had 2 stars since I don't want to say it, since it's been the 70s. They've had 2 legitimate stars like next to each other that grew like, Frazier and Pearl, 2 stars. We've always had a hard time getting 2 guys on the team that can grow together. But King and Ewing. King was injured. Ewing got drafted. So where we go, Mark Jackson, Ewing. That didn't pan out like we wanted it to. I mean, so we've never seen the fact that Philly had Embiid, had a chance to draft Tatum, had Fultz, got Fultz or whatever, had Okafor. They've had like 4 or 5 first round, number 2 or 3 from 1 to 4. Am I right? Yeah, from 1 to 4 picks in those years. And we're just waiting for one. We had RJ and KP, and we know they both don't play together no more.
Yeah, RJ was the first Knick to get a second contract, the first Knick lottery pick to get a second contract since Ewing, I think, right? That's what it was.
And he was 3rd, and KP was 4th. Those are the 2 highest draft picks we've had in the last, maybe we don't want to ask that question, but it's been a long damn time since we've, I mean, obviously Ewing, is it, am I correct? Is it Ewing? We traded away Aldridge to Chicago. So that pick became Aldridge or Joakim or whatever it was.
Aldridge and Joakim for Curry.
Yeah. So when we look at that, we have not had. It's kind of insane when I think about that. But trust that unprocessed right there. So we've only had Ewing, basically, RJ, and KP.
Yeah, that's it.
Over the last how many decades. And meanwhile, Philly within that, if we pull up that thing, it was like year after year getting between 1 and 4.
Yeah, I mean,
4 or 5 years straight. That's ridiculous. Because up there is not. Simmons was listed as leaving, but not when what wasn't listed was him being drafted. That they picked him. So you've had all these draft picks, and they had Drew. They threw away Drew Holiday for Nerlens Noel.
I think he was the 14th pick.
Yes.
Maybe I can't remember.
They've had so much talent that the Knicks have been starving to have as a franchise, and they've wasted it away, in my opinion, because they haven't been. He's the only thing left from that process. Am I correct? Is he the only thing left? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll see how that drama unfolds. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on the Harden situation. We have about 6 weeks, I think, for the season begins, 6 or 8 weeks. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, specific thing, how it breaks down. But the process, but the process overall it's been a failure. I mean, there's no way you can spin it. And I mean, I'm not a Sixers fan, so I'm okay.
I don't care.
What do you want me to say?
Burn.
Oh well. But no, but I think we wanted to talk about it because it's more of a cautionary tale. This is something that it's one thing to want to get high picks, but if all you're doing is losing, you're setting up a losing culture.
I think this is a fallacy. I kind of like to make one more point on this. I think for people that are used to reading mock drafts and mock drafts and mock drafts, and a lot of basement GMs do this, they think that picking in the lottery is easy and that the position really dictates the pick because they read all of these things. And that's not necessarily the case. You're not just going to turn the 6th pick into the best player that's available for the 6th pick. I mean, go back and look at drafts in retrospect and some of the colossal mistakes that were made, mostly by us, granted. But again, you are not guaranteed to walk away. Talent evaluation is one of the hardest things in all of sports.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
We've done a pretty good job with it in the draft, especially in the later picks. But you're not guaranteed anything. And to make your fans go through 3 and 4 seasons. I know we're going to move on to the next topic, but I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Lottery doesn't come with guarantees.
Mm-hmm.
No. I mean, the term, right?
Yeah.
The term lottery.
Lottery, yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't, you buy a lottery ticket, you're not guaranteed you're going to win, right? So there you go.
Look at how many there's a lot of number one picks that are just not number one players. You know, when you go back, I did it's been a long time since I did it, but I went back and looked at like all of the draft picks from the lotteries. I mean, because I have no life, I tell people that all the time. And but in going back and looking, you would be shocked at the people who ended up with championships. They were nowhere. There's a lot of non-lottery players that have championships as opposed to the number one picks. You know, you might get a Tim Duncan, you might get a Shaq here and there, you know, that can be the pillars of your franchise and win multiple championships. But, you know, Michael Jordan was picked third, you know, Kobe Bryant picked 13th, you know, so you got to realize it is a lot of luck, and it's also having probably some really good eyes on knowing what your franchise needs and trusting your process of how you go about selecting players that fit your program. So, you know, but you can never that's heart and work ethic, those two things. What are you saying, Aaron?
I mean, there's obviously some, I'm going to say that obviously there's some guys who are can't miss players. And you know it just from watching. There are certain guys who are like that. But I mean, we could go to one draft, Greg Oden, Kevin Durant, right? And everyone. That's what I was
thinking of when you said that.
Right? But no, I mean, Greg Oden's problem was injuries. Like his body couldn't take it. His body couldn't take the rigors of the game. I don't know why. Like, I can't explain why his body couldn't take it, but it just couldn't. So that's his career failed. Like he flamed out. He couldn't do it. He
even looked like a 40-year-old man when he got drafted.
Yeah,
he did. And then obviously Kevin Durant has gone on to become one of the greatest players to ever play. So like you have right there is like a glaring example, right? Of Olajuwon, Bowie, Jordan, right? You have that right there too. You have Olajuwon, great player, Michael Jordan, great player. There's Sam Bowie in the middle has to be the guy who's like, hey, you know.
Who was after the Olo Kandi? I wonder. I gotta go. That draft.
That's another one.
When I saw that guy get drafted, I'm like, this is going to end badly.
The worst
looked nothing like somebody who wanted to play basketball.
The worst was this will be the last thing, and then we'll move on. But the worst first pick in my memory is Anthony Bennett. The worst first pick overall. And that was a terrible draft. It was a very hard draft to peg. But I mean, that guy, he looked fat in school at Florida State, and then they drafted him, and he had all these injury issues. It's terrible to say, but I said if Zion didn't pan out, it would be like that would be the guy I would think of. And
was Wiggins
obviously Zion's great.
Was that the Wiggins? That wasn't a
I
Wiggins.
don't think so.
Wiggins was the number one
first.
overall.
Yeah, Wiggins won first.
Cleveland got both of those number ones, though. I think they took Wiggins, they traded Wiggins, and they took Bennett.
Kevin Love.
Am I right on that?
No, Love. They wouldn't trade that for Love to bring him in.
Yeah, that was the Kevin Love deal. They traded Kevin Love for.
Who was in the Olo Kandi draft? I gotta go visit that because that dude was terrible. He was terrible, and that Anthony Bennett draft was bad. Those are two bad draft picks. That should have got.
Apparently Bennett is still on the Canadian national team. I don't know if he's playing right now with Barrett and Shea and all those guys, but he's a Canadian, so apparently
he's in charge of the snacks. I mean,
apparently he's there. So
snacks.
He can hang out with me. I mean, me and him go roll up to a drive-through, but he's not doing no basketball.
Oh yeah, that draft was terrible. Good lord, man.
No, I fully expect to have Anthony Bennett rent me out a car one day.
What's that you said?
I said I fully expect Anthony Bennett to rent me out a car one day.
Well, there have been two great players one great outstanding. Giannis was in that draft. He went 15.
Oh, there we go. That's the gem out of that draft.
And then CJ McCollum was also in there.
Oh, very safe.
As well.
And where did Giannis go? 13 to 14, 13, 14?
15. He won 15.
See, I'm telling you, it's rarely is the number one guy. Like we said, Olajuwon, Duncan, Shaq, those are givens, but it's not always the key to get the first pick.
Gobert,
I think the best player in the NBA was a second-round draft pick.
What's that?
I think I think the best player in the NBA was a second-round draft pick.
Jokic, yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, but it's so funny. How many people are going to say, "Oh, the whole league skipped over Jokic"? It's just like the whole league,
European guys, some of them are hard to gauge, especially if they're not playing in the highest league. So that's like the problem. He wasn't playing in the best of the leagues. Like KP was playing in the Spanish ACB league, which is considered the second best league in the world. So everyone knew him. And they knew he played against top competition. Jokic was not playing. He was playing in some Serbian league, which wasn't great. So it's harder to gauge him. Clearly, they missed.
So he went to the American Serbian League because that's what the NBA is. Because they're just not. These guys aren't damn good either. I mean, no offense to him, I think he's fantastic. I've campaigned and believed that he should have been MVP again. I don't think that he should have. Embiid deserved it. That was just complete hue bias. That's all that was. But the NBA doesn't have players anywhere near his ilk, so it's all good.
No. Well, the Knicks might not have been good at drafting, but they traded for a draft pick for a guy this year in Josh Hart, who they eventually re-signed recently. So there's been some details that have come out about his contract. So there's no performance bonuses, number one. So it's $81 million extension. The first 3 years are fully guaranteed at a total of roughly $59 million, and Hart will make an average of $19 million per. The fourth and final season is a team option that the Knicks have. So again, this looks better than what I originally thought. So yeah. I'm a little bit happier about the deal. And this is the one area the Knicks have done well recently. Yes, I didn't like the Randall signing, but it wasn't a terrible contract. Brunson's contract right now is the biggest deal in the league, as we know. And even Barrett's contract is a good contract for him, very tradable deal if they wanted to do that eventually. So they've done well with that part of this. And yeah, this was a nice little thing to read and the breakdown for it. It's crazy that he's making less than Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's a little bit of a crazy thing I read. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I saw what he got.
Right? Crazy stuff. But yeah, so the Knicks have done well here. Brock Aller, gotta give him a clap for him because he's the one that does all the contract stuff. So Brock Aller, has been the guy. So what did you guys think? My reaction was, oh damn, this is as bad as I thought. What did you guys think when you saw the numbers? Either one.
Oh, well, to me, I thought it was excellent. I mean, it was one of those, giving a nod back to the front office for me because, we've often talked about, that contract, is going to be $80 million. Not that I like Josh Hart, so it's not like I'm, I realize that the league is going in this direction. You're going to see these crazy contracts. He's going to have one of them. The Knicks probably will have several of them, by the time at least Brunson, becomes another free or has the ability to opt out. So Brunson's going to get a huge bag. You might as well brace for it. Might not like the numbers, but it's what the NBA is trending towards. But in hearing this, it just reminded me of why that we have a guy that obviously does some great negotiation. And we also got maybe the best cap dude in the business, obviously. For some reason, the Knicks are able to bring in players and convince them that you don't deserve all your money. You just deserve enough of it. And that's when you think about it, they have won at this game. I call it the discount double check. Shout out to Steve Novak. This is a discount double check by the front office each time they go to sign someone. They convince RJ Barrett that, yeah, you're worth a lot, but we're going to incentivize the hell out of your contract. and you'll never meet these incentives. Good luck at it. And here, take this 70 million that you're probably only going to earn because you're not getting the rest of it. Julius took a discount.
Yeah,
Mitchell Robinson, maybe on the open market, maybe gets a little bit more, but he probably got his money at the right rate. But you look at, they convinced Josh Hart to opt in with the guarantee of an extension, but the extension is only 3 years and an opt-out option for the team. So they know somebody. Either they know where the bodies are buried or they really do have a great connection with these guys that they're bringing in. DiVincenzo, he's not making a lot of money. This team is really prepped for a superstar. And herein lies the issue. Who is it going to be and can they get him? Because this team is built. I mean, we're hearing about Jericho and McBride being guys they want to keep and they're holding on to for dear life. Well, they're second rounders who can probably be first round talents. They probably would have been, you redraft, they're probably going in the first round. So they've done an excellent job. We can poo-poo on the Julius Randle. Clearly, he's the lightning rod of a lot of things, but he's still on a great deal.
Great deal.
For his production, he's a two-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA. He's putting up great numbers. I think he's now moving towards 20th on the scoring list. I mean, the dude's assaulting the Knicks, record books, and he's on one of the best deals in the league. Hate him or love him, the money is not bad in New York. The draft picks, we have a ton of those. I mean, we're in a really good situation. Other than I do feel that the draft picks are not going to have the same value if we keep, we're not going to be a terrible team in the near future. So, hopefully they have value that you can leverage some great player to come here or trade for. But the Knicks are in the best shape I've ever seen. And that's saying a lot. When you think about the years of suffering that we as Knicks fans have gone through, so Philly, we feel you in that way, in that regard. But look at all the suffering that we've gone through. And for the last 3 or 4 years, 4 years, the Knicks have been, they're stable. They are stable, whether we like the coach or not, or we don't like our best player or not. Everybody's tradable. There's nobody breaking your bank. And you just got out the second round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, all that's good stuff. Definitely a good place with the contracts. They've done an excellent job with that. So, Joe, bouncing off that, I'm gonna throw you a curveball question. I wasn't planning on this, but because we have a guy who's eligible for an extension, and now since they signed Hart, they signed DiVincenzo.
No.
What do you think? I was gonna say, what do you think happened with Emmanuel Quickly? There you go. That's the question.
Okay. I think with the current state of the roster, Quickly doesn't want to be in New York. Nothing for nothing. And I think I put something like this on the fan page a little while ago. And okay, let's look at our roster really quick. You got Brunson at the 1, right?
Yeah.
So Quickly's going to back him up. That much is known at this point. He's going to back him up.
Probably, yeah.
You have Grimes, DiVincenzo, right? At the 2. You got RJ at the 3. You've got Julius at the 4. You got Hartenstein, all of these things. Now, they're saying all the right things. They're going to move RJ down to the 4. They're going to move Barrett down. They're going to, move people around and stuff like this. But the roster doesn't look good like that. He's not getting minutes at the 2. You have 3 guys that are legit 2 guards right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't showcase him right now because he's not going to get the minutes to do it. He's not getting the minutes he got last year with this roster right now. If they extend him, everybody's signed. So it's not like circumstances are going to change in his favor. He's not an idiot. He knows this. His agent knows this. We talked a little bit about this, Eric. This is a golden opportunity to mismanage another asset. we could really wind up getting nothing for him.
That's the thing, yeah. That's kind
Now,
of what I'm thinking.
that being said, I agree absolutely with everything that you just said, Ty, about the organization. Yes, missteps, this and that, but we are in the best spot that we've ever been in, at least from what I've seen from this team, hands down. There have been good decisions, all of that stuff. We're primed. But quickly, sorry, man. It's not going to end well. I don't think. I think we're in a bad position with him because we're not going to be able to showcase him. He's got 1 year left. Probably not going to want to be here. No one's giving up a prime asset for him into this scenario. No one that's got a head on their shoulders.
Yeah, Ty, we were talking about it too with him. Like, who needs a point guard? Like, we're trying to think who needs a point guard. Toronto was one team we thought of.
Toronto was one,
right?
Toronto
yeah, but do people view him as a starting caliber point guard? I don't think he is.
No.
But how does the league view him? Right? Like, he's a combo guard to me. He's much better scoring than creating.
I'll add another team.
The best version of him is Lou Williams Light.
Yeah, he's not even as good as
That's the best version of him.
I'll add another team to that list after hearing little rumbles with them. Orlando might be a team that needs a point guard.
They have a lot on that roster, though.
But they are not, from what I understand, Suggs, they're not really sold on. They have faults down there. They have They have Anthony Black now. They have a bunch of guys that are not really, killing the dirt.
Is he better than those players?
I think we don't know, but I mean, if you're signing him, you're signing him to be full-time quickly that we've seen, who seems to want to be a starter. I mean, his starting numbers are, you can't it's like two different guys. It's him coming off the bench that's been, you get this, what I call pouting is what I've called it. I mean, no offense to him, but I'm like, if you can do that, you can always do it. I just think he comes in and he kind of freelances in the second unit and he kind of clowns it up. That's how I've always felt about him. Whereas when you put him in a starter, he's like, oh, well, this is what I'm supposed to be. So let me go out and do what I should be doing all the time. And it's like more or less he's showcasing his worth then. Whereas, I don't know who he would go into the league in free agency and start over in the league. I mean, other than, like I said, maybe Schroeder. He might start over Schroeder, who's in Toronto.
He would. I think he would.
Is he going to start over, like you said, those mixed bag of young, unproven guys in Orlando? He could go down there and win the starting position there.
He could start in Minnesota once Conley expires. Conley's not part of the long-term plan, and they got nobody.
Yeah, Minnesota. But him and Anthony Edwards, I would love to see that.
I know, Joe. I know you meant when his contract expires, but when you said it, I'm like, he's not dying. When he's
No, I'm not saying Mike Conley's dying. All the respect, Mike.
He's a good dude too. He's a very good dude.
But no, I think
Clippers. I mean, they don't have assets to give up to get him. The Clippers.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like, when I'm looking at what teams are asking for players for quickly, I'm going to be like, I want 3 first-round picks. What are we doing here? All these teams getting all these players. That's what I would say.
There was a rumor that never came to fruition. They said that the Knicks were in talks with a trade with Quickly for a very good player in his prime. Did anybody else see that?
Yeah, that was out. That was floated, which I thought was Toronto. Is what I thought
it was Toronto too.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I was thinking
Siakam, right? You guys said Siakam.
No, I was thinking it was OG. That's what I thought it was.
OG. Okay.
The OG trade makes sense in a lot of ways. Not because I'm a fan of this guy. I really never really watched him play, so everything that I've watched is pretty much highlights, looking at stats and etc. He should be a Tom Thibodeau type player. I mean,
he can play at the 4 too.
Yeah, he seems like, I mean, the 3 to 4, you can put him wherever you got to put him. It makes sense. It gets rid of a glut at the guard position. It fills the small forward position. So you're tossing back and forth RJ or Grimes starting. That's really what the argument's going to start. Who do you start alongside him? But quickly would be gone. So now you don't have 15 small 6'4" guards on the team. So that to me would be the trade. I mean, I don't, but he doesn't make enough money. So if you extend quickly now, you can't trade him. You got to wait to trade him. Well, so it's got to be because he's not you can't sign and trade him. I think that's the rule.
Yeah,
right?
He's in the last year of his deal. Yeah.
So you can't sign and trade him. Mm-hmm. So you would have to trade him straight up, and then Toronto would in turn have to extend him when they absorb him. So they'll extend him. So you got to make up the monies, which would be I would think. Ev's contract, Quickly's contract, going for OG, and you probably got to throw in some sort of incentive because it's Ujiri. So he's not going to take two bubbles on that.
He's going to want picks.
He's going to have to extend OG too.
Yeah, and
I won't mind that though.
Like that's less tricky than spending Quickly. I mean, when you think about it with the Knicks, I don't see the avenue to get a superstar. That's just me. I've not seen it yet because the guys that you want are so deep in the contract. You got Embiid, he's not a free agent anytime soon. You got Donovan Mitchell, 2 years away. You don't want Cat. Booker's not going anywhere.
Well, Cat's deal is ridiculous.
What's that?
I said Towns' deal is just ridiculous.
So it's like who would even want to be the cat's me on that one? So you got him. I mean, Zion, they're not going to let him go for nothing. I mean, are they going to pony up BI? I don't think so. So most of these guys they're on solidified contracts, and unless they have the leverage going into their final season, the Knicks don't got a shot with someone asking to go jump the ship without ponying up everything you have in the barrel. So that's what I'm saying. Like an OG move might be one of the more solid moves because you're at least trying to make us one of the best starting fives in the NBA as opposed to needing that one player from the NBA. I mean,
and I've talked about this before. I've gone on both sides of that trade, Ty. The OG tie. But going back to having the front office and the coach and everything aligned, that is a move that aligns with the roster. It's not like trying to figure out what to do with Donovan Mitchell at a 6'1" shooting guard and how are you going to handle that? How is your 3-point defense going to be when you have those two out there? Like that is alignment. OG fits the roster.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely. It would be interesting. Be an interesting starting crowd.
Yeah, it would. But my Kawhi, Paul George clean the slate trade sounds really good to me. That's how I look at it. The crazy thing is, if they did that trade and they kept Brunson, they could win a title with those three guys. I'm not joking. The Knicks could win a title with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George.
I mean, as long as somebody's not injured,
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong about Kawhi Leonard. Like sometimes I'm like, is he still in the league? I've really asked myself sometimes. I can't remember he's still playing or not, because that's really been the issue with him. Is he playing or is he not playing? But when locked in and engaged, if you had those three on the same team, because that's what they're missing. They're missing a Brunson type, a floor leader that's like, get over here and you get over there, and let's go kill. Brunson's a killer. I agree with Eric. If they stayed healthy, they cut through the East and probably torture the West along the way. But it's whether they stay healthy. Well, that's why people were thinking about the RJ trade for Paul George. They figured, wow, you put those two, him with Brunson, that's it's like, what are you going to do with Randall? That's always going to be the question. What do you do with Randall?
That's why I'm saying you for me, it has to be both of them.
Yeah,
it has to be both.
That's the both, because Randall doesn't have the off-ball fit for me on any. Now, I'm not just as a Knicks fan, but I don't see that fit with a lot of the league. like because his skill set doesn't work that way. But getting back to OG would put you definitely probably in the Eastern Conference Finals with the Knicks if you're only giving up Emmanuel Quickly, Evan Fournier, and a pick. You're going to the Eastern Conference Finals probably.
I think it's going to take much more than that. Look who you're dealing with again.
15 picks. He already said he wanted 5 for him or 7 or something like that. Ridiculous stuff.
It was some crazy nonsense.
You're dealing with one of the hardest GMs in basketball to deal with. He's going to want a lot.
He's delusional as hell if he thinks he's going to get that.
He is. And there's been reportings that teams have said that he is delusional for what he's asking for. I've heard that reported this offseason.
He's a free agent. He's going to be a free agent this year. It's not like he's like
a free agent at the end of the year. Yeah.
And then this is his final year, and he's trying to get draft capital for a person in his final year. Him and Quickly are kind of the same, except for the numbers on the contract. They're in the last year basically of their contract, and it makes sense. It makes sense to be an even swap, and you sell Emmanuel Quickly as your starting point guard with Scotty Barnes. That's a pretty exciting little young core. I'm not saying they're going to smack somebody up bad, but right now Toronto is in disarray. You let FVV go for nothing.
Yeah,
you've let assets walk. Kawhi Leonard went for nothing. So the pieces of that championship team have gone for nothing. And as smart as Ujiri is and gets a lot of credit for pulling the trigger on Kawhi Leonard, one bounce in the wrong direction and that thing blew up in his face. So let's just keep that above. The Kawhi Leonard, shot kind of made that a really great thing. I've never seen a shot like that. Have you guys ever seen a shot dance like that?
It was beautiful.
I don't even know what you call it. Is it luck? I don't call it skill. It's just the gods was like at you and the ball went in. So
when it goes in, it's skill.
Yeah. Well, I guess I agree with you.
It's touch, right? It's touch.
It's touch. The rims are soft. But when you look at that dynamic, if that goes the wrong way, then we're talking bad about Ujiri. He took the biggest risk and he crapped out. And also, Toronto lucked out. He wasn't healthy. He wasn't healthy in the finals. So would that be something different if KD was healthy? But I do believe that OG would be the better fit. If Quickly and Fournier for OG, I'd sign up for it any day and give him a couple second-round draft picks. But I'm not giving him a bunch of firsts.
I think that's
true.
RJ's a must in that trade on their end. Going back to playing Toronto, RJ's going to be involved in that deal.
They want RJ. They're gonna, and maybe at this point, I'm not being funny. We've said it a million times. He may be the one guy that they might pony up and let go of because I don't know how favored he is in that front office. Although
they didn't draft him.
I'm sorry, with RJ, I have no problem with him as a player. There's things that I hope that he changes, but I've always liked his tenacity and his attitude and his approach to the game. I'm hoping what we're seeing now is a great thing moving forward. I would not give him up for OG Anunoby, but some people would.
Well, you brought it up, so we going there. We're going international now.
Canada.
We're going all worldwide. We're gonna do it now. So we'll start with Team USA because the way Jalen Brunson is playing now in this little preview tournament, that's the way I'd like him to play for the Knicks.
Oh yeah.
He's been obviously he didn't miss a shot the last game, which is fantastic and crazy. But at the same time, he's playing more like a point guard. He's creating for guys. He's finding guys. And I don't know if it's a trust thing because this used to be my argument with Melo too. I would always say, well, he doesn't pass. He just doesn't trust the guys to make the shot. So he would think his shot is the better shot. And I think Brunson might have a little bit of that in his head too. Like, my shot's the better shot, so I'm just going to take it when he plays for the Knicks. But when you're playing on a team that's just a bunch of stars and he probably takes a little bit of a deep breath and lets it out, and then he just lets his game go from there. I think the mentality is just a little bit different, and I think that's what we're seeing with him. But man, that performance, not missing a shot at all at any level, it's impressive. But that's super impressive, man. Like that was against a good team too. That's Spain is a good
Yeah, they are.
international basketball team, and he did not miss a shot. So I don't know. Brunson. I mean, there's not much more to say about him, right? Like, what else? What else can we say about the year he's having? There's really nothing else to say.
He's got to be loving it that people can't crowd the paint on him. I mean, with the talent he's got around him, I mean, he must be like a kid in the playground with all the spacing that team affords him.
Yes, I mean it's just been fun to watch. I didn't see much of the first game, but I did watch a little bit of the second game. Man, he's just been fun to watch. But the guy who's really been really eye-opening in both games for me has been RJ Barrett. The first game he was good, and he hit a couple of big shots. But the last game, he missed one shot. he was 13 for 14, missed one shot, 30 points, scored the last 5 points in overtime to clinch the win for them. He's hitting the three-point shot, which is really the main difference in his game. If he can hit that shot, everything opens up for him. Yes, temper expectations. It was against Germany. They're not the greatest basketball team. I don't want to be like he'd be doing this in the NBA, but it's a good sign for a guy who I thought his confidence was a little bit shaken last year. It's just good to see him playing this way. Joe, you are a bigger critic. So what have you seen so far from him, and are you encouraged?
I'm hopeful. Honestly, I think that any success on any stage for him is a positive move. I think there's so many things with RJ. A lot's been said on this show. You know, I think Eric at different points you said he defers too much to some of the older players. We all know about the slow starts, stronger finishes. I am hopeful that this season he will come in, start strong, and something will go off. A light will go off somewhere off of him because he has elements of his game that are really strong. He is missing a consistent jumper. He's missing a mid-range game, but these things can be developed. He seems to have a strong work ethic. I mean, I'm not totally down on him. I don't see potential to be a star with him. If he takes a leap forward this season, it will be huge for us. Absolutely huge. If players like him and Grimes, which is one of the reasons that I'm hoping that these guys have had good summers and that they're maybe a little bit more aggressive and working on different parts of their game, because those two guys take a step forward, barring any other moves on the roster, and we're dangerous. So I am hopeful with RJ.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe the workout videos we see, not only of Barrett but of Grimes, who we saw he was working with JJ Redick. Now apparently today we saw Penny Hardaway. They used the picture of Penny Hardaway. I mean, he seems to be taking it seriously. Like, hey, these guys think I could be this type of player. You know, I'm going to put in the work to try and get there. So I think from what we've seen from him, and obviously what we're seeing from RJ for Team Canada, it's been very, very impressive. His RJ's trainer, Drew Hanlon, has been protective of him, right? So another thing with him, but you know, I still have to go back to the fact that he's mentally he's still a young kid in a lot of ways, and I think he's just starting to mature a little bit, coming to his own there. And it's been fun to watch this Team Canada play. Obviously, again, he's playing with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's playing with other guys who are stars in the NBA. And that always helps when you play with other fellows, guys who are better than you, which right now I'd say those guys are better than him. You know, you kind of don't have the attention. But I mean, he was that in that game, he was doing everything we want him to do, attacking the basket. He was no hesitation on his jump shot. There was no hitch in it. It looks to be more fluid. He's still doing. I keep looking at the feet because they did that little adjustment in the playoffs with his feet, and I was checking to see if that's still there. And yes, it still is. He's still shooting the same way, so maybe he found something there. His dribble looks tighter to me, closer to his body, not exposing the ball as much. Just little things I've noticed with him just watching these things. I'm not seeing Joe. You're right. If he could pull in like a 15-foot pull up, 15, 18-foot jumper. I think that would make all the difference for him as well. I haven't seen much of that yet, but when we see in his workout videos, he seems to work on it. So, yeah, Joe, you're right. If him and Grimes take a lead, one each commensurate with what they've done so far, yeah, I mean, the Knicks could become a real threat without making a move, without adding anybody else. So, all right, so Ty. Let's see. We've seen now the 2 games with Barrett.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen anything that you were hoping he worked on? Have you noticed anything different with him?
I don't know if it's so much as I noticed anything different. I think from what I'm seeing is really him taking off from where he left off, with the playoffs. You see him looking like he's just very aggressive, in a downhill aggressive RJ. Who can hit a shot becomes easily an all-star type player. I don't think it's even like a question mark. The things that are missing from his game is efficiency and decision making. Like I don't think he's a low IQ player whatsoever. I just think that he needs to become a high IQ player on the floor all the time. I don't think he can rely on. My biggest knock on him is that he thinks he's more athletic than he is, and I think that's been the knock. He really. I always said he thinks he's T-Mac and he's more Big Mac. He's not. You're not Tracy McGrady, and it's okay. So what you have to do is not have the mindset of a 22-year-old who wants to go out and believe that he is this athletic gifted player who can go and soar to the rim. Because we've seen him take off on dunks and like landed like like a plane with no gas in it. I mean, Coyote used to chase the road runner. He has all the Acme rockets, and it's blasting off, and it gets to the damn cliff. Then all of a sudden, it's like that's RJ jumping. When we know you should not be jumping, you should be finishing physically through someone's chest. Impose your physicality. That is what we're seeing now. We saw it in the playoffs. We see it now. He basically went through Team Germany, and he was like, "You're too damn small. You're not strong enough. I'm taking it wherever I want it, and you're either going to take the punishment or you're going to get the hell out of my way." Because he is that type of player. He's physically gifted enough and intimidating enough. That's all he needs to ever do. His finishes around the rim, to me, have always been victimized by him trying to be more finesse than physical. Like you're trying to throw up these odd, you've seen them, those fade away. And to credit to Tom Thibodeau, he's even said it. Stop fading away and go to the basket. Well, if he's telling RJ that, then it's RJ's fault. It's not Tom Thibodeau's fault. Because that's exactly what we all want to see, is that you go and play like Kawhi Leonard. I think that's the best comparison physically, because Kawhi is not this great jumper. That's not who Kawhi Leonard is. He gets to his spots. He's a little clunky, but he's going to get the shots he wants. He's confident in those spots that he determined to be his spots, and he mentally figures out a way to get there. And if he can't get there, he'll impose his will and throw it down your throat. That's what we want from RJ. And what we're seeing now is RJ play that way. I will settle for him not having a mid-range, the jumper. I don't care if you don't got that. Just go to the paint and either get an and one or get fouled and hit your free throws. As long as you're playing downhill aggressive basketball, I don't give a damn if you don't hit a jumper. Because the league is too soft nowadays. You don't need to have a mid-range jumper if you're a bull. They're going to get the hell out of the way because there's too many punks in the NBA. There's not who do you know is taking a charge? Brunson, but Smart. After that, these dudes are like, they're letting you go right by. They're not going to stand in front of you. Zion Williams is going to eat somebody's lunch. What you saw with Kevin Knox is how most people feel about Zion. He's going to go and get it, get out of his way. RJ,
I do.
If he did that, I'd settle for him not having the best mid-range DeRozan shot. As long as you play to what is your advantage on the floor. And your advantage on the floor is if you can tighten up your dribble and take 2 to 3 steps to get to your spot. We hear about Larry. This is so funny, Craig. You got to look at that. If he gets to his spots and he's able to just finish through and hit his free throws, RJ's getting at least 23 points a game. He's leaving bunnies. He's leaving bunnies.
The
Larry.
It's true. Yeah, it's true though what you said. I can't recall a time in the NBA where I've seen guys drive the lane and guys just get out of the way. That's something that's very, very strange to me. As someone who grew up pretty much saying no blood, no foul, that's the way that I like to play basketball.
Yeah, I think degree played
so
that intimidation. I thought what he's playing like he was coming out off the playoffs. He had a bad game in Miami, which they all did outside of Brunson. So I'm not going to give that to RJ. The whole damn team was terrible outside of Brunson. So what we saw in the playoffs was he made that adjustment with his shot, like his footing and all that stuff, and he took off. And I think he's kind of stacked upon that when looking at his. I think Drew Hanlon was saying that when people view his footage on the practice, that's usually RJ coming out of the car basically and dunking, like no warm ups,
right?
No lathering up. He basically walks in the gym and they start training, and he has no time to warm up. So if you see him moving slow, it's because he just got in and he just started doing drills with no lathering up at all. So, and like I said, it looks slow to some people. I don't give a damn if he's slow.
I don't either. That doesn't bother me.
You can finish at the rim and you're hitting 50% or near 48% of your shots, and you're hitting 80% of your free throws. RJ Barrett's averaging 24 points a game. I don't care how slow his ass is. I don't really care how slow. If he does that, one adjustment and takes less threes. Take threes that are within the flow of the offense. Nothing forced. RJ Barrett's averaging 24 points a game, and it wouldn't even be good.
There you go, guys. You heard him. He said it. That's it. I love the kid, but I'm not going to put those kind of numbers out there. Ty does, though. He's putting them out there. So
put them out there.
Hey, I hope so. From this to God's ears, I hope so.
He'd be an all-star with those kind of numbers. Isn't that crazy that if he can get to 45% of his free
if he's putting up those numbers by Christmas, I'll wear a Santa outfit during the Christmas.
I don't think you're going to have to go buy one, but it's good thinking, though. He's probably going to be literally probably 43 and 78 is probably going to be his numbers. I hope that it's what I said, the 45 and 80, because that would be he's rolling out of the bed getting 23 points a game. Yeah,
again, it's a mindset, aggressiveness, stay aggressive with him. That's one of the things he has to do too. Take good shots, like you said. The other thing that I've noticed that he's doing well is the creation off the dribble. Not so much for himself, but for others. He's been finding guys in this tournament as well, which I've always thought he was pretty good at, but he's even doing more of it now. So I think that's a good thing. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. The thing's not over, and the actual World Cup tournament hasn't even begun yet. So these are all just preview games. So we'll see how it turns out. But it's been fun to watch. I'll say that has been fun to watch. Speaking of tournaments, the NBA's announced their in-season tournament. I hate this thing, by the way, just to put that out there. It's a very bad idea. But the Knicks will kick off their first, and it'll be in Group B, for whatever this means. They'll play the Bucks on November 3rd. Mm-hmm. Then they'll play Miami on November 24th. Then Washington on November 17th. I don't know why they did this backwards. And then Charlotte on November 28th. So, does anybody know what this is like? Is there any kind of special prize you get for this?
Money.
It's just money?
Yeah. I think it's money. I mean, I know
500,000. I think it's 500,000 for the winning team for each player.
I don't.
It's so weird to do this. I know they're trying to be like soccer, right? Soccer, they have these international friendlies, and when their regular seasons are going for these guys, they have to come and play. But that's an international tournament. It's not within the league you're playing. You're playing it.
The final game is in Vegas. Am I correct?
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah.
So, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I'm being funny, but I'm like, there you go. That's what it is. It's a money grab. They eventually want to have a franchise in Vegas. So, people are going to line up. It's going to become an all-star weekend event. This should be the all-star weekend event. If you're going to do this as anything, what they should do is the in-season tournament, the way they're doing it, and the two teams play all-star weekend for whatever that money is. Now, you can raise the stakes of the all-star game. You can do it at the all-star game because it's complete trash. It's complete and utter trash. So if you had two teams, say it was the Knicks and the Lakers playing for the midseason championship in Vegas at the all-star game, that to me made more sense. And then you can have the three-point, do away with a dunk contest, get rid of that crap. So that's complete garbage. Do the three-point contest, then you would maybe make this thing make sense. But this is a complete money grab that has no relevance to the league right now.
Jesus.
You're right.
The poor kid almost died, man. What are we doing here? Come on. So I don't care. I don't care about this tournament. I really hope. I hope it sucks so bad and they never do it again. That's my hope that happens. But it's coming for this year, guys. So, and I think it's weird that they're announcing this, and I think they did announce the regular season schedule as well, or is that soon?
Yeah, I think it might be out.
I think the regular season schedule's out, man.
Yeah, so that's what I care about. I don't care about this freaking playing tournament.
I don't even know. It makes me wonder, even like, are the players, like, I think they have this belief that all of a sudden the players are going to be incentivized to be competitive. I think small guys share this and find it insignificant and don't give a damn about it.
Well, yeah. The Knicks will be playing on Christmas again, by the way. Apparently the Bucks will be playing the Milwaukee Bucks, so that's another thing to point out. So as we know, I think, was it last year or 2 years ago that they didn't have a Christmas game for like the first time? And it was a long time ago they didn't have a Christmas game. But
it was a long time. That last time we had it. I mean, when we just became back relevant again. Happy months.
Yeah. Yeah, Craig is crazy with it.
Yeah, but it should be. It's just the
word. You're on fire tonight.
Yeah, unbelievable.
He doesn't like the Sixers and Bronny. Well, at least Lowry he doesn't like.
The Lowry bit was timed perfectly and kind of broke this.
There's a personal story behind that, Joe. I'll have to have Craig tell you.
Yeah, Craig's gonna have to tell you about that.
Craig can tell you about the personal story with him and Kyle Lowry. It's not my business to talk about other people's business. It's not TMZ. I'm not going to get into that. I'll let him tell you that.
Yeah.
All right, let's shut this one down, guys. It's hot in here for me, and we're kind of getting giddy.
Getting hot in here.
So, Joe, tell people about where they can find you if they want to talk to you.
Well, I don't have a Twitter account, but I'm wondering if I can get a burner Twitter account.
That's what you should do.
You can.
You can find me on the fan page. I will be delighted if you reach out. Delighted.
Yes. So, all right, Ty, tell them about all your fun stuff you got going on. Go ahead, Tom.
You won't find me at Kabibbles. I can damn sure tell you that much. Craig, get at your peoples. That chicken cheesesteak was terrible. But anyway, you can find me you can actually find me on Twitter. I'm actually getting a little bit more aggressive with that. I can't believe it. I was like, look, I'm one of those who's now look, I'm gonna give it at you. You can find me at Gene Scribble on Twitter. You can also find me on our All Knicked Up fan page. Trying to engage with you guys, try to keep the content going. Come and engage with your boy. Maybe we should get somebody else that might want to be a guest spot. We already got a permanent third. Maybe we need to See who want to come on and chat up with your boys a little bit there. Gonna throw it out there. Y'all hear me?
I'm trying. I'm trying to get people. Scheduling is usually a tough thing, so I'm trying.
We'll get a guest on here. You know,
get a guest to come on.
Maybe we'll get Kyle Lowry on here. I don't know.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Craig's gonna be back on that one.
That would be Craig. We're gonna have you back on that one. You're gonna be with us.
I still want Kristen on.
Oh geez, no, I don't have the heart or the stomach for that one, for that conversation.
What did MTV used to have those death matches? Was that play death matches? Wasn't that what that was?
Celebrity death match? Yeah.
There you go.
All right, guys. You can find me, as you can see, my information's right here. Yeah, as you can see, at Finally33 is my account. At all_Knicked_up is the show account. You can hit me up on either one. I will converse with you on either one. Basketball, though, the All Knicked Up one's probably the better one to talk to. Like the guy said, we have a Facebook fan page and a Facebook show page. The show page is where I post the show to. So if you're watching on Facebook now, you're watching it there. The group is for us to have conversation, to talk about the Knicks, talk about NBA. If you guys want to talk about anything else, you can you can ask us, let us know. I use the add everything option in there. That's everybody. So if everyone's getting a notification, usually I'm the one sending the place to add everything. You guys can do that way. That's an easy way to just address the room. Everybody all get a notification for it. So again, definitely check us out there. We love the conversation. That's why we do this. So come holler at us in the room. I also have a pop culture show I do called Straight Outta Gotham. On Twitter, it's at @straight_O_G. We talk about fandom. I talk about comic book movies, comic books, mostly movies and television shows overall. We go across all genres, horror movies, comedies, all that stuff. It's fun. I photos with my friend Peter Vera. But definitely check that out if you're interested in that stuff. In that vein, I do want to wish Madonna a happy 65th birthday. That's some crazy stuff. I still can't believe that Madonna is 65 years old. Like, I think about that. It's just crazy. But yeah, so I know she's not watching, but
like a virgin.
Let's just shout her out real quick.
Happy birthday.
Yes. Ty's DJ days are coming back now.
They definitely are.
The songs used to play.
It's a holiday. Oh yeah, yeah. We were discussing Madonna songs earlier in our private thread.
Yes.
You know, and how time. I mean, we're old. That's really what it comes down to. I know it was bad when Iron Sheik passed away. That's when I'm like, well, damn, we just old. Because I remember when he was when he was pile driving Bob Backlund on the mat.
The camel clutch.
Camel clutch. You know, Iran, Taidan #1. Iran, Tairan #1. But all those, you know, when you start losing some of your childhood heroes, that's when you know time is ticking. But yeah, shout out to Madonna.
Yeah, obviously she's not looking so great right now, and she almost died recently from some infection she had. But
Mystique, man, more C4 at the door. You know, it's like kind of. I'll never understand that dynamic. Like when I see people, we brought up Little Kim. I know we're going off the topic here, but seeing these people morph from, you know, you see them morph in the spotlight with so much. I mean, I wonder if they wake up like to the mirror and go, "Damn, what the hell did I do?" I mean, I just wonder. You don't look like
work.
Yes, I mean,
yeah,
they can never. I say this about Michael Jackson, the same thing. In all the money he spent to look like that, he can never reverse it.
No.
I know.
He never pay someone to go back to look the way he was. That's the insane part.
Yeah, sorry we got off topic, guys. I just wanted to bring that up. But we won't talk about Madonna again next week. I promise. All right. So again, I want to thank everyone for watching. As always, thanks for the support. We have a lot of fun doing this. We'll keep it coming as long as you keep wanting us to bring it. That's all I'm going to say. So for Ty and Joe, I'm Eric. You're watching All Knicked Up, and we'll see you next week.